In 1145, the Christian world was shaken. The city of Edessa, one of the first crusader states, had fallen to Muslim forces. Pope Eugenius III called for a new crusade to reclaim lost territory. Unlike the First Crusade, this one was led by kings, Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany. Their armies set out across Europe, answering the call of faith and glory. As they marched through the Byzantine Empire, tensions rose. The Greek emperor viewed the crusaders with suspicion, fearing they might claim his lands instead of helping. The German army was the first to reach Asia Minor, but they were ambushed in the mountains of Anatolia. Thousands perished in the narrow mountain passes. The French soon followed, facing hunger, disease, and constant raids. The dream of a glorious campaign was turning into a slow, painful struggle. Emperor Manuel I Comnenos greeted the Crusaders in Constantinople, but trust was fragile. Political tensions and past betrayals haunted their uneasy alliance. As they crossed into Anatolia, the Crusaders faced harsh terrain and ambushes. The sun scorched the land, and supplies grew dangerously low. At Dorylaeum, the German army was decimated by Turkish forces. The survivors, wounded and demoralized, fled through the mountains. Louis VII's army stumbled through the same perilous route, attacked constantly from the cliffs above. Arrows rained down while the wounded cried out for help. By the time they reached Atalaya, disease and hunger had thinned their numbers. Thousands lay dead along the trail, their pilgrimage turned into tragedy. The Crusaders marched through the scorching plains of Anatolia, their armor glinting under the relentless sun. Exhaustion and thirst began to take their toll. Byzantine guides, wary of betrayal, led the armies through narrow mountain passes. Every shadow felt like an ambush waiting to happen. At Mount Cadmus, Conrad III's army was suddenly attacked by Seljuk archers. Chaos erupted as the columns scattered in the rocky terrain. Survivors regrouped, bloodied and shaken, retreating to Nicaea for refuge. The failure haunted the German forces. Meanwhile, Louis VII's French army moved slower, cautious of the fate that befell their allies. Tensions grew between French nobles and Byzantine commanders. The French reached the southwestern coast of Anatolia, hoping to sail to Antioch. But the promised Byzantine ships were late, and desperation grew. To save the remnants of his army, Louis VII negotiated passage by sea. Many were too sick or wounded to board and were left behind. Those who reached Antioch found the once glorious city weakened and divided. Political infighting among Crusader lords threatened to unravel the mission. Despite setbacks, Louis VII continued toward Jerusalem with a diminished force. The Crusades' dream still flickered, though dimmer than before. In Jerusalem, news of the disastrous march reached King Baldwin III. The city braced for a crusade that now seemed more burden than blessing. In early 1148, the remaining French forces finally reached the coastal city of Antioch. But politics awaited them. Raymond of Poitiers, Prince of Antioch, had his own plans for the crusade. Louis VII clashed with Raymond, refusing to redirect the army toward Aleppo. Suspicion, jealousy, and conflicting ambitions fractured the fragile alliance. From Antioch, Louis marched south toward Jerusalem, his army battered and reduced. Along the way, they passed scorched villages and empty fields. In Jerusalem, news of the approaching army stirred tension and hope. Queen Melisande and the local nobility debated where to strike next. Eventually, the leaders chose to attack the city of Damascus, an ambitious and controversial decision that would determine the fate of the crusade. In July 1148, the Crusader army gathered outside Damascus, confident in a swift victory. The orchards surrounding the city provided initial cover and supplies, but the defenders were ready. Archers fired from behind thick walls, and hidden troops launched counterattacks from alleyways and groves. After just a few days, the Crusaders made a critical mistake. They shifted their camp to a less fortified side of the city, exposing themselves to assault. Water became scarce, morale collapsed, and unity crumbled. Disagreements among the leaders stalled the assault. Facing mounting losses and no clear path forward, the army began to retreat. The Second Crusade was ending not with triumph, but with quiet defeat. As the defeated army limped back toward the coast, whispers of blame filled the ranks. Some cursed the Byzantines, others their own kings. In Europe, the news of failure spread quickly. Hopes had been high, but now people question whether God still favored the Crusaders. Louis VII returned to France in silence. His royal prestige diminished. Conrad III followed, carrying the burden of defeat back to Germany. Only a few knights and pilgrims remained in the Holy Land, clinging to fragile outposts and fading dreams. The Second Crusade had promised redemption and glory, but delivered disunity, hardship, and a painful lesson in hubris.